Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Wynn's Kitchen podcast. I'm your host, Wynn Austin, and the founder and CEO of Wynn's Kitchen. Today, we have a special guest, Jess Windell, founder and chief Maven of a PR firm, Maven's Consulting. Hi, Jess. How are you?
Hi, it's so good to see you. So good to be here. I'm doing well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Well, Jess, you were one of the very first people I've met when I kind of got into the whole
Crazy.
CPG space. I think that was 3 years ago
My
when things
goodness.
were kind of lifting from COVID.
Naturally San Diego, right?
Naturally San
Okay.
Diego. So tell our audience like your role in Naturally San Diego, because you really helped build that whole community for San Diego.
Thank you. It has been a team effort for sure. But yeah, my background is really what lends itself to Naturally San Diego and how I got involved in that, and then really how I landed myself where I am today. So I have a background in PR. I was at an agency, went to school in San Diego, and then worked at an agency out of college, and then went in-house for Perfect Bar. So I was in-house for Perfect Bar from 2014 to 2019. And while I was there, we saw the natural products scene really just emerging in San Diego, and all these brands that everyone knew about but really didn't know that they were in San Diego were just vibrant and thriving kind of in that 2018, 2019 timeframe. And so we got a group of some of those biggest brands together, Suja, Dr. Bronner's, Chosen Foods, Perfect Bar, and brought them together to start building Naturally San Diego, which I cannot believe it's been almost 5 years. But
Wow.
we started that 5 years ago, and simultaneously as Naturally San Diego was building, Perfect Bar got acquired by Mondelez, and I split off to start Maven. So really Maven was my effort to do what I did as an in-house PR person for Perfect Bar with an understanding of marketing and just the cross functionality that is required when you're doing PR that sometimes feels a little siloed when you work with an outside agency. And so I, for the first time, because of Naturally San Diego, was interfacing with founders and CEOs, CMOs who were telling me their gripes with PR and with PR agencies. And I just thought, gosh, that is such a shame, because I've had those same experiences at Perfect Bar working with outside agencies. But if someone could just bridge the gap between what's happening on the PR side, what's happening on the marketing side, it'd be more harmonious. And so I did take a role with Naturally San Diego as I was building Maven, which was such a beautiful opportunity. And then we, were able to really build that community while I also built Maven. So it's been about 4.5 years now that I've had Maven, and we're a full service, full funnel PR firm. So the reason I say full funnel is because PR is typically brand awareness, top of funnel. You can't really track conversions or ROI. Well, the landscape has evolved, media has evolved, and now we really can track and provide metrics a little bit more than we ever could before. And so when we do PR, we're looking at the entire funnel and how is this brand awareness initiative going to ultimately convert into a sale, convert into a customer. And so that's really where I landed. 4.5 years later, we're still working with primarily CPG, food, beverage, wellness brands, personal care, beauty. And it's been really fun. But yeah, it's crazy, just, humble beginnings and also still very humble. I think it's, you and I have seen each other so many times over the last several years. And I think the best part about the community that we've built with Naturally San Diego, and then just the greater natural products community, is just how authentic and real everyone is. I think I never feel like I need to fluff my feathers and sugarcoat what I'm doing. It's like we can have you and I just had a very real and honest conversation before we started this. It's like there's just not this ego in our industry, and it's so beautiful. And I love being able to foster that and tell those really authentic stories for brands that deserve to have their story told.
Right. And I think storytelling is such an art. right?
Oh,
So
totally.
for our audiences that don't like know necessarily or have never worked with a PR firm, tell us a little bit about, what is PR and why
Yeah.
is it important?
You nailed it with PR is an art, and I say marketing is more of a science. Marketing is creativity, certainly, and there's an artistic element to it, but there's a lot more rhyme and reason behind why you market something a certain way that you can really teach. Whereas PR, it's a lot more stylistic and there's a lot more trial and error. And A doesn't necessarily equal B every time. You're taking chances, you're putting yourself out there. You are at the mercy of the media landscape, the news cycle. I mean, there's a fire right now in LA that's I'm sure completely taken over all the media channels that it's not as controlled
Hmm.
as marketing is. Additionally, the most simple way that I can explain it is that when you're a brand
Hmm.
and you're talking directly to your consumer, you're telling them what you want them to know about your brand, why your products are the best, and why they should buy you. That is marketing. And they, more often than not, know that you are marketing to them. Even if
Yeah.
it's a billboard, they know you bought that billboard, and it might be a really creative, crafty message on that billboard that gets their attention, which is great, but they know that you put that out. Whereas PR is getting to that same consumer by way of a third party or a entity like a brand or an organization that they trust, they respect, they're already looking to get their information and to be influenced by. They're hearing about your brand or your products through that third party. So it's an indirect way to market to your consumer. I really think that PR is under the marketing umbrella. It's earned endorsements, it's shared media and shared buzz versus direct is
Right.
like the most simple way that I can explain it. And I have like really fun analogies that I can share if you're interested
Yeah,
to just like
you.
kind of like put it in real layman's terms, if you will, where or real world format. It's like if there's a poster on a light post on the corner of a street and it says, come into this house. They're playing the best music, they're serving the best drinks, and like there's really cool people there. You
Mhm.
are not going to go into that house, that's random house, because there was a sign on the light post that says, go in there, they're serving drinks, playing music, great people. If your best friend was on the corner and you run into them and you're like, oh my God, what are you doing here? Oh, well, I'm going into this house. They're playing the best music, they serve the best drinks, and like my favorite people are there. You
Mhm.
would so much more easily go into that house. And so that's a, silly example, but it's just to show that the difference between hearing it straight from the horse's mouth versus hearing it through a trusted source, it hits different. It hits your emotions differently. The function doesn't change, the
Right.
offering doesn't change, but the way that you are introduced to it and your buy-in of it changes.
It's so true because I feel like as consumers, I mean, consumers are getting smarter than ever and we're being sold, all the time, like on Instagram. I feel
Totally.
like I used to use Pinterest all the time and now it's like all ads. So it's like, I feel like it's, people don't like to be sold to. And what you're saying is it's like I like the New York Times and I always read like the food section and like, the life stories or Wirecutter and it's silly. I read like the best Christmas presents or stocking stuffers, and I found like the silly book reading light, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's they've tested all these kinds, so it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go on Amazon and order that. So it's just so much more natural and authentic, and I think if that item, if a consumer comes across like a news article or a media and it resonates with them, they're not feeling like they're being sold something,
Totally. It's
right?
also it's research based too, especially in CPG. It's, what are the healthiest snack brands on the market, or what are allergy free kids products, or what should my dog be eating, a raw food diet or a kibble diet? It's this
Mhm.
research based element too that they're looking for endorsement and validation through these third parties. And there's an alignment too. So when you see co-branded opportunities, you're saying this brand that I love is going to be endorsing this other brand. I don't even really need to do all these checks and balances because I already know I love this brand. So if they're aligning themselves, I can trust that
Mhm.
the other brand is up to snuff with what I would want, right? So it's very much this endorsement aspect too that really helps your cause.
Awesome. And so what would you say, I mean, as far as like challenges, like what are some of the biggest challenges that you see CPG brands deal with in regards to working with PR? Or, how have you helped some of these brands grow their business, and at what stage of their business should they get a PR firm?
Those are so many loaded questions. All very, very good ones. I think let's start with when a brand is ready for PR. So I always say that whether you think you are or you think you're not doing PR, you're doing it. If you have a public facing brand that has anybody involved except for you,
Mhm.
you are doing PR, because even before you start generating revenue, even before you get your first retailer or you're selling online, you have investors, you have friends and family, you might have employees, you have people who are talking about your brand. And so they are your stakeholders. They are representing you to your publics. It might not be your perfect consumer, but they're going to start talking about you. They have a vested interest in your brand. So I say a stakeholder is anyone who has a stake in your brand. It doesn't just need to be consumers. In fact, consumers are often on the bottom of the totem pole when I think about the most important stakeholders in your business, because one consumer not buying from you does not make or break your business. One investor not investing in you does. One retailer not liking you does. So being cognizant of who are your stakeholders, even in those early stages, is really important. So with that said, it's never too early to start thinking about PR. It
Right.
is too early to start investing in it when you don't have the activity to support it. And
Right.
that is something that I have been very passionate about since day one, of just not letting brands, for lack of a better word, get bamboozled by PR firms who say, come on in, the water's fine, we'll work with you, just pay us $10,000 a month and like we will get you press. That's fine because they probably will get you some press, but the strategy behind it and the ROI of it will not be worthwhile until you get to a point where you can actually utilize and leverage that press. Because if you're too early and you come out with your product, let's say March of this year, you are now getting pressed for a product that hasn't really gotten its validation and product market fit yet, and might go through a few rounds of packaging redesign or formulation changes, or you sell out and now you can't fulfill orders that are coming in because you got this
Right.
press. You want to build your brand and build your foundation. Make sure all your ducks in a row. I say your house is clean before you start inviting people in. Make sure you are ready to go out and get the attention that you deserve to get. And so it's kind of a pacing effort. And I'll share kind of what I've developed to be a solve for that. But I've just seen one too many times, and Maven clients included, because I get excited about brands. Like, when you know how much I love you and how much a supporter I am of your product and have been your brand since day one, but mostly you as a founder, right? Like, I love people. That is my biggest value, is people. And so when I get excited about someone and something, I'm like, I know what to do to help you. Let's do it. And I have worked with a handful of brands that we did our job. We did what we showed up to do. I can't say that they necessarily were able to, not to any fault of their own, deliver what we needed to be successful. And therefore, even if we got press, it fell flat. And I always say, like, you don't want to end up with a stack of magazines on your lap at the end of a 6-month engagement and say, okay, now what do I do with this? I don't have enough things going on to funnel this coverage through, or an audience that is going to be, further loyal because I got this coverage. So
Right.
you need to be careful about the life stage that you're in, because if it's too early, you don't have your house set up to start to invite people in yet. You're still learning, you're still figuring things out. There's a lot of changes that can happen and pivots that you make, and all the work and the outreach and the communication that's been put out about your brand to these very important people is all for nothing if you're making changes.
I think that is so huge. And when I talk, I mean, and it's so authentic, and I really appreciate you really saying that out loud. Because I mean, as a founder, I mean, I'm the only one that knows like my business, the hardships, and you're right. Even 3-4 years in, just learning how to balance inventory with cost and cash flow. And I mean, everyone and a lot of founders too, they're just spending money right and left. Brokers. I mean, just we try to get sold every kind of service out there.
Yeah. Oh
Not
my
that
gosh.
they're bad people by any means,
No.
but it's a matter of it's the founder's responsibility, and it's a learning process. But
To
anyone
discern.
I said, well, try to sell the product first. Like,
Totally.
try, try to see if you can get into the stores in your neighborhood, like the first store to 2 stores, 5 stores, 10 stores. Because I've met founders who are not, they're maybe in 3 stores, and then they're trying to say, oh, I want to get into Whole Foods and KeHE, and and it's like, well, yeah, that's great. You just have to make sure you can afford it. Um,
Totally.
as it gets so expensive. And you're right. Like, what if you got a founder like this national segment and they don't have the inventory to support it, so they can't even get the return on investment.
Totally.
But
Even if
you
it's
did, but you did your
in front
job.
of them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly it. Is we're all out here trying to make our businesses thrive. So it's not, to your point, it's not that there's bad people out there. It's that they really can do good work for you. It's just, is this what your business needs right now?
Mm-hmm.
And I am also a founder of a brand myself that's in startup mode. We're not even 3 years old. And I see it firsthand. And I have to put my founder hat on and say, what would I want as the client in this situation? And I always say that if anybody ever just wants to better understand PR and ask if they're in the right phase, or a lot of brands, in Slack channels and stuff will say, oh, I need a PR firm. And I get referred to them, and I'll talk to them and I'll say, here's where I would spend your money more wisely right now. And then, like, let's chat again in 6 months and see where you're at. That happens to 90% of the brands that I work with or I talk to, because I don't want them to have a bad experience and then have a bad taste in their mouth and never work with an agency again. That's not the goal. The goal is to go, process order of operations, and like go through the process of what needs to happen first, second, third, and then work on the agency side when they're ready. But that's truly why I developed this course, because I was so tired of sending brands away empty-handed, and I felt like I was just doing them a disservice, because they were gung-ho and they were excited and they were ready. They want that coverage, they want the attention, they want the strategy around how do we become a household name and a media darling. And I was saying, you're just not ready. Here's where I would spend your money otherwise, and good luck. And they would say, could you join our advisory board? Do you want equity? And it's like, I would love to do all those things. I just don't think that that's the best use of either of our time and resources, because
Right.
my hands are tied. I can only tell you what to do. I can't show you what to do. And so I created what is now Catalyst, and it's the first DIY course and toolkit for emerging brands in the kind of consumer goods space. And so it's truly my 10 plus years of doing consumer PR and the work that I've developed the kind of theories and thought processes that I have, and a ton of examples and templates, as well as contact lists of, people that are aspects, assets, materials of what I think is necessary for brands to do their own PR, and not just learn about how to do it, but actually do it with exercises and resources and tools. So it was the biggest labor of love. It was my consumed. I mean, I've been talking about
I
it for
remember
years.
when
I
we were at
asked
an
you.
event and you asked me, and I just said, you know what, that is genius. And that really bridges the gap
Yeah.
because there was no one else doing it. And it's hard. It's like, going from, like for myself, I would love to have you as a PR firm, but I'm not quite there yet for the brand. But having something that, I can learn to do it myself and pitch at my own pace also is
Right.
amazing. So I thought I was definitely all for it. And I'm so proud of you. I mean, how
Thank
long did that
you.
take you to develop?
Honestly, it was a year, and I spent at least 2 weekends every single month just holed up in my
Yeah.
house. I would go on like little staycations and like house sit for people just to have an like change of scenery because it was just so daunting. But
Yeah.
I knew when I finished it that it was going to be my like most prized possession, and it truly is, because it honestly just makes me feel good to have something to offer. I had two
Right.
calls today where they wanted to work together on a full service. And once I took them through Catalyst and showed them everything, they're like, oh my God, this really is the first step. And
Yes.
then we will reach for what's next.
Right.
Um, and that's just such a good feeling because it's such a small investment to get your bearings and then feel like you have the empowered knowledge to
Right.
make the choice of, I'm going to go with this person or this agency because I understand what we need. I baseline got it. I just need to take it to the next level. And so I think PR has forever just been so mysterious and
Mhm.
been so just coveted, and it
Mhm.
doesn't need to be. And so I'm honestly just like opening up the curtains to say, like, it's not that crazy back here. There's not a ton going on. You just need to know how to navigate it. And it really is something that I think can be taught like any art, right? Like any music instrument. Like you just need to go through the steps. And so it's 15 hours of video content and
Wow.
about 300 slides and 32 lessons, 10 modules. Like it's lengthy, but it's super comprehensive, and it's something that you can do at your own pace. So I
Yeah.
say like give yourself 3 months and like do a couple hours a week if you want, and then go through all of it. Start doing the exercises in month 2, then start doing the execution in month 3. Like you really can digest it as you want.
Mhm.
And gosh, it's just like something that I then think I have consulting that you can add to it. And
Mhm.
then I can come in and say, great, you already have a general understanding. Let's customize this pitch, or let's talk about this activation or campaign that you want to do. But you know the majority of what I would already say because you've now listened to me for 15 hours. So it's like we get to have those higher level, more intricate conversations.
Right. I think it's going to help you get, when the clients go to you, like they're ready, like they
Right.
know what to expect. They, like you said, it's like, I mean, I have just a very surface level, like knowledge of PR, but Catalyst is on my goal list for 2025. The holidays and fourth quarter was kind of crazy, but I am super
Totally.
excited to use it myself and to learn from you. So that is on my
Yeah,
list
I
for.
can't wait to hear what you think. But you
But
can you can take it at your own pace, which is the best part. Literally, if you just even just do one lesson a week, there's 32 lessons. It takes you, I'm sorry, not one lesson a week, one lesson a day. Some of the lessons are like 15 minutes. So you could say, I'm going to do 1 hour a day, and you get through it in 15 days.
that's amazing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like that's like my goal is like breaking down little tasks, like setting aside time, putting away my phone, putting do not disturb in, and
Yeah.
spending 10 minutes of, things that I know I need to get done.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just, what I also really wanted to do is every brand is so different. And so you may go through the whole course and you say, I just need to get our affiliate program set up because that alone is going to generate its own revenue. And like, let's start there. Then
Right.
I'm going to dive into the earned media. Then I'm going to build out this communications brief. Then I'm going to do a competitive landscape. Like you can bounce around. I have quite a like formulaic process that I think you should go in, but it's to each his own. And it's also really great for interns or marketing coordinators to come in and do
Mm-hmm.
that might not maybe ever get that thorough understanding of PR.
I mean, that is a huge service to, I think, any business owner, and especially to CPG, because I think people going into CPG, including myself, I really underestimated how expensive it is
Oh my
starting
God,
a
totally.
business, and also just how complex the retail channels are, and just it's really overwhelming. It's really different than when I was, selling it out of my trunk for fun as a hobby.
Totally.
So I think that just like being given just a resource where you can learn, and then even it might even help a brand really learn about their story and their mission and how to
That's it.
message themselves on
No,
Instagram.
that's like the first half of the course. And I start every lesson and I'm like, I know you want to get into the good stuff, but we're not there yet. Like we're still building. And it also shows you just how much thought and energy goes into the strategy. And I mean, I personally don't even pitch at all anymore. I am solely doing strategy and development of ideas for our brands. That is how the majority of my time is spent. So if you think about just the breakup of time, it's like, yes, you need to spend time pitching and getting your news out there. But if you are not so dialed with what you're sending out, you typically have one shot. You have one shot to make an impression. You have one shot to either get on this person's good list or their bad list. So you
Right.
better make sure that you're thinking about it holistically and you're not. That's one of my biggest takeaways from Catalyst is I know everyone wants a magic pill. I know everybody wants me to say, okay, here's the trick of the trade. Here's how you get it quick and easy. But as we know, as founders of anything that comes quick and easy doesn't last. And
Yeah.
so what I really am trying to teach is what are the fundamentals? What are the things that you need to do ahead of time? And I always say that the earlier you can do this, the better. Like
It
things
is.
only get more busy the more work you do and the more you build your business. So if you are a new brand that's just starting, this is the best time to start this because then you're building off of a solid foundation. And what I'm sharing in Catalyst covers more marketing than it does PR in the early foundation. So I have something called the PESO model. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, what's the PESO model?
So the PESO model is paid, earned, shared, owned media. And it culminates in the center. It's a Venn diagram. So paid, earned, owned, shared. And it culminates in the center with reputation, loyalty, and trust being at the center of all four of those kind of circles.
Mm-hmm.
And what the diagram shows, which I talk a lot about in the course, is there's crossover for all four of those. They all have interchangeability. They all kind of blur the lines between each other, but all four are necessary to build trust, reputation, and loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
And so PR is really horribly labeled. Public relations is the worst name for what we do. I would prefer it be called like reputation management and like endorsement activation. Like there's so many other words for it than public relations, but I say that because when considering your PR campaign and your efforts, you need to look at all these other areas. And so I take brands through a deep dive of their paid, their owned, and their shared media, even though that's not an area that we necessarily execute on. It's something that we have to understand and consider so that we're not turning a blind eye to this whole other section that's going to help us build our reputation. And that's where PR traditionally has been very siloed in terms of what publicists know about and think about from the marketing side. And I quite frankly don't think I would have known any of that until I was at Perfect Bar. Like, had I not been at Perfect Bar, I would not have seen how the paid media channel thinks and how I ran influencer marketing, but there's just so much more, even owned, right? Your
Right.
own social is just so different from earned. And they all play in the same sandbox together.
Right. Right. It's so complex. I mean, I
It
think that
is.
people think PR is easy or that your job is like, oh, well, like, because I have to say, like, the word, like you said, the atmosphere around the word PR tends to be a little negative, or there's
Totally.
fake news, and a lot of people say that we don't know what to trust anymore, especially if it says like sponsored. But I think that it's so complex, and it's a combination of things. Like, I remember when Perfect Bar came out, I was like, what is this? and it's like, I probably heard something or saw something on Facebook, and then you see it at the store. It's like, it takes so many, you have
Touch
the best
points.
for this. Like, yeah, so many different viewpoints for a consumer to be like, okay, I'll give this a try. And then it's like, oh, I really like this. It's easy to eat. It's just like that trust. And that, I mean, I think there's really no shortcut to that.
Totally. And that's, yeah. And you said it very well, in the sense that there needs to be multiple touch points, of which earned is just part of that. So that's another reason why brands shouldn't start earlier than they're ready, is that they don't have, if PR is your only channel that you're investing in, PR can only do so much without the other channels activated. So the paid, earned, owned, shared, all four of those need to be activated for you to have a successful campaign. However, I will say that the earned media is the only one that, shared media is also free. So earned media and shared media are free. Owned media can be free if you're doing it. Paid is obviously paid. But if you're enlisting help, it's earned media is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck in terms of impressions and new eyes. But shared media is also something to consider. Working with other brands, working with your retailers to post about you. That's shared media. That is someone else sharing it. That is not necessarily endorsement, but they're saying, look what's on the shelf this week. Or they're saying, look at the collaboration that we did with this brand. You didn't earn that because they're not endorsing your product outright. It's a shared approach. So
I love that. And I think that's one of my favorite ways of PR or getting media. It's like collaborating with other brands where our products go, and that is one of my goals this year, is just like deepening that relationship with the retailers. Like, hey, does it help if I send you a recipe with the products? Do you have an email list that you blast out? And then just doing promotions. So I think that is one of my favorites. But so I have a fun question to ask you, and I want your honesty. So it drives me berserk every time sometimes I get messages on DMs or I run into people and they say, oh my gosh, you have to get on Shark Tank. What are your thoughts around Shark Tank?
I have a lot. I think that Shark Tank back in the day was like the holy grail, and it was, it wasn't a dime a dozen. It was heavily curated and exclusive. I think it's been extremely diluted now. And for those brands that I've heard gone through the process, it is so cumbersome, complex, time consuming for not a guaranteed outcome. And the amount of reruns they play on that show and the amount of people watching like new episodes is so limited. I personally don't think it's worth it. I think I could find a million other ways to spend your time and money, and you could put your time, equate that to how much money you're spending on your own time. I think if it lands in your lap and it was something that could be done quickly and easily, then sure, why not? Of course. It's also something, it's a publicity opportunity for you to leverage and to put as a halo on your brand, but I don't think it holds as much weight as it did. And I honestly don't know that it's worth it.
Thank you. Thank you for the honesty, because it drives me nuts when people say that. And it's like, okay, like I bust my butt every single day. And there really is no holy grail, like if a brand lands like Whole Foods, like there's still a lot that has to go into putting that in play. Right. And getting the message out, because you have to stay on, right?
Yeah. There's just so many other avenues now. I think like 10 years ago, TV was king, right? Like, and it's changed so much with the digital landscape, and we're all just so, inundated with content and news and updates, and it's just happening a lot quicker. I think the only time I ever watch Shark Tank now is at the gym.
I know. I don't even watch TV.
No, I don't either.
Streaming.
It's like I literally see it on the TV at the gym, and I'm like, why is this on at the gym?
Well, good for you for going to the gym
every day.
Well, thank you so much, Jess.
Yeah.
Can you share with our audience, where can they connect with you? Where can they find out more about Mavens and also Catalyst?
Yeah. So just our website, mavenconsultingco.com, and you can toggle to the Catalyst page, but we can also do a $500 offer off for your listeners, and we can just have the code be WYNN, WYNN, and that'll be $500 off, and it's a one-time fee. So once you're in, and that's, Instagram, LinkedIn, I love a LinkedIn connect. It's just so fun.
I know. I'm getting better.
Would love to connect, would love to follow each other, and just excited to continue helping brands flourish.
Well, your authenticity has always shown. I met you years ago, and I can really tell you just love people and you love the CPG space, and it really shines through. And spending the time and taking the risk to develop a program like this, actions speak louder than words.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. And
thanks for being one of the first to know about it and being willing to try it out. Yeah, you were like my first go-to. So I just appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. And I'll make sure that I'll link in the notes, like your websites and also the discount code for $500 off. Well, till next time. Thank you, Jess. And it's great having you on the show.
Thank you.